Have you ever looked at all the gear musicians use and wonder, how does it all work? My name's Dustin, and my family and I are setting out on a quest to inspire both adult and kid musicians to create new sounds together and learn all about what it takes to produce great music. We'd like to invite you along on the journey as we explore the gear professional studios, musicians, and hobbyists use to create their art. We'll take a close-up look at the gear and ask,
what's this button do?
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of What's This Button Do? I'm your host Dustin, and today we are talking about part 4 of our Seeker Lineage series, The Master. Now this is based on the old Range Master pedals from the 60s. These are often misunderstood. I myself had a real tough time when I first heard these, really falling in love. I kept hearing people say, oh, all these famous musicians use Range Masters. And so I picked up one that was highly regarded and a lot of people really loved it, plugged it in, and it was in a store checking it out. And I'm like, I'm not hearing what the magic is here. It wasn't until several years later when I started doing recordings and started really playing with the Range Master with other pedals and with other types of guitars that I started to understand what this pedal was all about. You see, back in the day and even today, a lot of humbucking pickups are incredibly dark compared to like a Telecaster or a Stratocaster. And what happened is back in the day, it was really hard to get good recordings with some of those types of guitars, especially darker humbucking pickups. So the Range Master allowed you to plug into a brighter amp like a Vox AC30 or an old Marshall. And by using darker humbuckers, you could use the Range Master to boost the treble range to give it a brighter tone in those devices. Now, when you used it in combination with like a Telecaster or a Stratocaster, it might have gotten too ice picky, too twangy. Now, some people mastered that and used that as their tone, but for some people, it was a little too much with single coils. But like Brian May, one of the best in the world, he could make a Vox AC30 sound beautiful without getting too ice picky. So there's a lot of variation that you can use with this, but I thought today what I would do is dive into my favorite way to use Range Masters and show you how absolutely killer these Seekers can sound when you use them the right way. So let's hop over to the pedal board and take a listen. All right, so today we are going to be using my Rock and Roll Relics Heartbreaker, and there's a very specific reason that I'm choosing to use this guitar. This has some of the darkest humbuckers that I have in my collection. I love it. I use it for a lot of heavier riffs and things. But compared to like my Gibson Les Paul and some of my Cower guitars, especially the hollow bodies, this just has a much darker and heavier kind of feel to it. So even when I'm completely clean, like when you listen, and this is in the treble side, so I'm on the bridge here, not on the neck, but you can hear it's a little darker. Especially when I'm playing power chords. There's just a muddiness there to the character. It's not real clear and articulate, especially on the bass side. And if I go up in the neck pickup, you can hear it's got a very percussive, bass heavy, very bass forward kind of sound to it. Now, this can be beautiful, and I've used that in a lot of recordings that I absolutely love the sound of. But the beauty of the Range Master is when you get guitar pickups like that, what it allows you to do is enhance that tone and give it a little bit more treble to it and give it a little sweeter sound. Now, these can be used a lot of different ways. I like to use them in combination with other pedals to enhance them, but I'm going to show you what it sounds like on its own first. So what I've got is I'm going to turn on my Range Master. I've got the boost set at about 9 o'clock, and that's because when you first turn it on, it's actually at 9 o'clock, you're about at unity gain. But you can hear, even with the range turned all the way down, you're getting a lot brighter attack. Sounds more like a Tele at that point. You're getting that little bit more extra pop there. If I bring the boost up to about noon, it's a pretty decent loud boost. And if I bring it all the way up, watch your ears. it's a significant amount of boost. Now, I typically run my Range Masters at about 9 o'clock because I don't need the boost off of there unless I'm just doing an extreme solo that I want to pull off. Plus, they are inherently a little bit noisy, so I like to keep them at about 9 o'clock so the noise level doesn't get too absolutely crazy in the background. And then I use the range to do the expansion. So what's beautiful about the range knob, like let's listen to just an open G chord. And do the same thing. I'm gonna bring the range up to about 9 o'clock. Bring it up to about noon. Bring it up to about 3 o'clock, and you're gonna hear the extra warmth kind of come in. And then all the way maxed out, we almost get fuzzy. And in fact, with it fully maxed, you get this like sputtery fuzz sound. That's my favorite way to use a Range Master by itself. I just love that spitty kind of gated fuzz. And if you boost that up and you give it to about noon, it's just fun. It's something different, and it sounds different than any other fuzz that's out there. Now, but the real magic happens when you start using this with other pedals. So I thought what I would do is I'm going to turn on a Klon circuit. I'm going to use the Mythos Mjolnir and show you with these darker pickups. When you're using a Klon, it sounds really good, but it still sounds kind of dark. Cool, fun sound, nothing wrong with it. You could use that in a lot of different music. But now let's turn on the master with that. Let's hear what happens. And if we bring that range up and get it to around 1 o'clock, you can hear already a little more depth in there in the bass and the mids. Love that. It just gives it some extra sustain, some gnarliness. Now, if we get up into the fuzz territory, it starts to distort a little bit. So you can use that Range Master to make it as gnarly or as just smooth as you want to be. And on lead lines, it works about the same thing. So if we turn it back down to the 9 o'clock range, and we turn that on again, enhancing that lead. Versus. You can hear it just adds a little bit of extra trebly oomph. Bring it up a little bit. Get it to about that 1 o'clock range. Get it all the way up into the fuzzy area. Just absolutely enhancing and bringing the tone of that Mjolnir to life. And anytime you've got a darker fuzz or a darker drive or a darker set of humbuckers, I love slapping that Range Master behind them. I think it just enhances that tone, and especially if you're trying to pull something out of a mix, or you're a soloist and you're about to play over the top of a big band and you really want to shine, that Range Master will push you right on through the mix and bring you to the front and center of the audience's ears. So That's why it's just an indispensable part of the toolkit in my mind. The other places this can really shine is when you're using lower tunings, like a drop D or a drop B. I've put my guitar now into drop D, and I'm going to turn on my 1981 distortion pedal, which sounds great in drop D by itself, but then I'm going to add a little bit of the master to it so you can hear what it does when you're playing like more of a heavier style riff, or even like just a natural progression for you to use behind it. So here's my regular just drop D with the 1981 on. Cool, nothing fancy. Now let's add that Range Master in. I've only got everything at 9 o'clock here. Now the real magic is if we boost it a little bit and increase that range to about where you've got it pointed at the A. Let me go back over here. I'm going to play you something a little higher on the neck. Now same thing. See how much crazier that cuts through? And what's nuts is the volume meter on my screen here didn't go up a massive amount. All that was happening is it's bringing up those high mids and those treble frequencies, so you're just cutting through and standing out more to anybody listening. And that's the beauty of the Range Master. The Range Master just can take any drive sound you push into it and enhance it and really bring it to the forefront. And that's why I think it's an indispensable tool to have in your toolbox for any guitarist who's using any kind of gain or distortion pedals. I know that was a short little demonstration of what this can do, but do you hear how just much brighter and deeper that can make things sound? It enhances other pedals. And we're talking about pedals that already sound great on themselves, but if you do this the right way and you dial it in, it takes a little tweaking. You can't just, it's not a pedal that you can set and forget. You really have to adapt it to each one of its own, like however it's interacting with other pedals and other guitars. And it's going to change based on the guitar pickup you use and the pedal that you're running in front of it. But I promise you, with some tweaking, you can get some amazing sounds. And any of you who work in a studio, you should have a Range Master or two on hand at any given time, because you can use these in combinations with keyboards. You can use them with other effects. It's to me one of the biggest game changers out there. But anytime you're needing to bring brightness and clarity into a mix, it's just a no-brainer. On its own, it's okay. I like it, but I like other pedals better. So I've never been just a huge like plug in a Range Master right into an amp and just use that. I like using it with other things, but I will say if you've got a dark amp that doesn't have a lot of brightness to it, running this in front of it can really bring that to life as well. My amps that I have here just are already have a little bit of brightness to them, so we don't really need that for what I've got here. But if you do have some older, darker amps, then this is a great way to breathe new life into your amp without having to get a brand new amp too. So take a look at that as well for that. Well, this was the penultimate episode of our Seeker Lineage series. Next week, we will get to the final episode, and we're going to be covering the bend based on the old tone benders, which is one of my personal favorites, so I've kind of saved the favorite for last. So I hope you'll join us back there next week to take a look at that. But please, if you've got questions on any of the pedals in the range, now that I've had some time to play with them, please comment down below. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have and fill you in. And on next week's episode, if there's anything that's really pressing that we need to hear some sound samples of, I'll make sure to cover that as well. So please leave your comments down below and I'll get to them however I can. So, well, as always, I'd like to thank my friends over at Palen Music for hosting us this week, which is the week of May the 6th. On May the 10th, and actually throughout the whole week, they've got a schedule up on their website. But since this episode is airing on May the 9th, on May the 10th in Wichita, there's actually going to be a special event at their Wichita office where they're having the 50th anniversary of Taylor Guitars. They're going to be showing off some new guitars, hearing some sound samples. So please, if you get a chance and you're in the Wichita area, swing over there on Friday Friday evening. I think you'll find some amazing stuff to see, and who knows, maybe there'll be some giveaways and stuff. You never know. So please, please, please join them over there. And if not, just hop onto the website, take a look at what they've got to offer. They've got a lot of those new tailors up there right now, and they're pretty freaking cool. And as always, if you get a chance, please hop over to Instagram, take a look at my Instagram feed at What's This Button Do Dustin. Give me a like if you can to support the channel, and I'll be posting some new content over there as well over the next couple of weeks, doing some demos and some combinations showing like how these pedals work with other pedals as we go through. So, well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see you next week. Take care. Have a good one.